another episode of the Posted Podcast. I'm Kazzandra Romero, and today I'm joined with Samantha Delgadillo. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Cassie.
How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm so happy to be back for episode 19 of Posted Podcast.
Yes.
We're getting very close to the end.
Yes.
Sad. But today we have a very special guest with us here today. We have the Chief of Police for PSJA ISD, Chief Rolando Garcia. Chief Garcia, it is so good to have you on.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I am great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so glad to have you on, as Sam mentioned.
My very first podcast, by the way.
Ooh, I'm so glad that we're your very first.
We're happy to be your first. Well, for those of you who don't know about Chief Garcia, he is actually an alumni from PSJA Early College High School, class of 1993. He was involved in several extracurricular activities, such as basketball and band, and he started a career with the San Juan Police Department in August of 1993, a few months after graduating high school. Then, about 25 years after his service with the San Juan PD, he retired on June 7th, 2019. He was hired as the first police chief for PSJA ISD on June 10th, 2019, which is about 2-3 days, right, of retirement. How was that?
It was awesome.
And he actually helped establish the first police department for PSJA in 2019. So the police department has been here for about 4 years now. You are the first one, as you mentioned, and you kind of pioneered it, right? So that's awesome, and now you're the chief.
Yeah, and you have so many, 25 plus years of experience with law enforcement. So what made you go into law enforcement?
So my family, everybody in my family was in some sort of role in law enforcement. My dad retired as a sergeant from then University of Texas Pan American. My brother worked with the sheriff's office, Alamo PD and Donna PD. And then my mom, she was also a jail matron at the Old County Jail. So growing up in the family, it was, you're going into law enforcement, there's nothing else you can do. So it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I've been associated. I would play baseball with San Juan PD when I was 15 years old, and just kind of get going in that way. And that was actually the reason I got my first job there. I went in there looking to see if they were going to play volleyball, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be a dispatcher?" I'm like, "Sure," and that's how it all started.
And so you mentioned that your parents and your siblings are in this, I guess, fields of law enforcement. What about your children? Are they in that? Are they interested in becoming somewhere in law enforcement?
So my oldest son, Jacob, he's actually a security guard here with the district at
really?
Reed Mock. Bella and Gael, my young ones, Bella, she's into photography, bird watching, that kind of stuff. And Gael, we have pictures of him in a fire uniform, so I don't think he's going that way just yet. I still have time.
No, yeah, you do. They're still young, so they can still change their mind. I know at that age I was like doctor, lawyer,
teacher.
Yeah. And then what I'm going to college for is like nothing even related to what I wanted to do when I was younger. So they still have time to figure it out. But we touched base on you've been with the law enforcement for 25 years. So I know you also started your career as a telecommunications officer. So tell me a little bit about that. How's that different from being a dispatcher?
So a telecommunications dispatcher, what it is you're the front line. You're the thin gold line is what they call dispatchers. You're the first one to make contact with that person asking for help from the public. So it was, I guess, the best for me. And I thank Chief Arcaute, my chief at the time who hired me. You learn. You're by yourself in that room, answering 911 calls, answering the landlines, answering the radio, dispatching fire. And oftentimes you have two phones to your ear, your foot is on the pedal of the mic, dispatching your officers, and then you're typing everything that's coming out over the radio. So you're able to learn and quickly learn how to multitask and use the best of your time because you've got a lot going on. So having that first job for those 2.5 years in radio just helped me quite a bit in learning what it takes to be a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a tough job to multitask because you have so many lives on the line, and you're like, okay, what do I do first? What do I do?
Yeah, especially I would assume like it teaches you how to work well under pressure, right? Which is a main thing.
You have to prioritize your calls of who's coming in first. You may have a major accident, but you've got a domestic disturbance over here. Who are you going to decide to send where and what's priority? So you've got to take all of that into into account before you make that right move and hope that it's the right one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's scary. I know I've had to call like 911 once, and it's just like, obviously, like, me as a person, I'm freaking out, but like I'm sure the dispatcher has to stay calm, and like them being calm makes me even more like anxious. It's like, can you please just like hurry up and
Feel
do
my
your
pain,
job?
please.
Yes, I know, exactly. It's scary, but I mean, you have to remain calm in those
Yes,
situations in order to
definitely.
do the best job you can.
Well, like we mentioned earlier, you were part of the San Juan PD, and then you were one of the pioneers that kind of created the PSJA ISD Police Department. So how was the transition from, you know, a city police department to a school district police department?
The transition really wasn't too hard. Getting adjusted to the speed was a little bit different, but it's not uncommon or not unsimilar to San Juan's population of 30,000 plus. Here in the district, we have 35,000 kids, so it's pretty much PSJ is its own community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's how we approached it, as that this is our own little city, our own little town, and we're going to still kind of take a little stuff from the municipal side, but really focus on what it means to be an independent school district police department, because there are big differences in
Such
what we
as?
can do. So we're more of a backseat role in a response form more than anything. You know, we can't push kids into class. That's not our role. Our role here is just to make sure that nobody comes in and does something that's going to harm the students and staff. Our role is to make sure that the staff feels comfortable enough in their environment to, you know, teach that content that they're putting across to the class. So our model for our police department is protecting, educating, and mentoring our future. So that's what we want to do here. We want to focus on let the teachers be teachers and let the kids be kids, but we're going to be somewhere in the background making sure that nobody's coming onto campus to harm
There's
them.
no chaos,
Yeah.
no.
That's-
like
yeah.
it's not unsafe. Yeah.
That's a good motto. I completely agree with it. So I know that the police department, the PSJA ISD Police Department, is fairly new. What, I guess, was the deciding factor, or what started it all?
Well, the school board back in 2019 decided that it was time to create a police department. A lot of the surrounding districts had theirs established already. We were relying back then on contracts with the 3 cities, and you know, you don't have control of the officers that they're sending to your campus. So having that ability to have our own department and hire who we want, and not be kind of held to the 3 cities that are sending us people. Not that they didn't send us any good people; they were great. But we wanted to have a little bit more input into the daily operations of keeping everybody safe.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially how you mentioned that we're such a big community, and, you know, just to imagine, like, the 3 cities have to take care of, like, the people in its own community, and plus the 35,000 more people within the district. So I think it was a good decision having the PSJ Police Department.
Yeah, and it goes back to, you know, in August, it'll be my 30th year in law enforcement. The networks that we've built up with the surrounding agencies, I can pick up the phone and call their command staff or even their line officers, say, I need help over here to do this. And yeah, we're on our way, and they'll help us out. That connection's still there. It's always going to be there.
That's great. Yes, that's very important too, because you know, we're a district, right? But we're also part of these bigger communities as well, you know, FAR, San Juan, Alamo, like we all need to work together. So that's very important. And also I have a question. So like the security guards, they're part of the police department. Would they be considered a part of it, or are they like a separate?
They're a separate entity,
Okay.
but we do work hand in hand. Our offices are shared offices, and we work in the same building. Anytime we have an incident, we're, you know, communicating with each other. Their dispatcher and my dispatcher sit in the same room, so you know, that communication is there all the time. Anytime we have a threat, you know, the guards are there, the supervisors are there, and they're going to help us out.
Yes.
So what different compartments does the PSJ ISD Police Department have?
So we have what's called our campus assigned officers. They're strictly assigned to a single campus. That's their city, period. And then we have officers that are on patrol. We have a K-9 officer, a K-9 team that we had just started with maybe 6 months ago. And as of yesterday, we were able to bring on board 2 investigators. So the investigators are a key part because, again, I want to keep the campuses safe. And if I have a long-term investigation or an offense or an investigation that needs a little bit more time and away from the campus, these guys are going to be able to do this. These guys and gals, actually. It's Officer Aswada and Officer Ramos that got their promotions. And that allows that campus officer to stay there at the campus and not have to leave and leave the building unsecured.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And you mentioned the K-9 officer or the compartment that was just added. Why do you think it was important to bring in K-9s within the PSJA Police Department? What are the benefits of having a K-9 unit?
A K-9 unit is really an asset to any agency, especially us within the district, just to maintain that narcotics detection, that proactive and not reactive approach to, we're having drugs somewhere or what have you, let's send a dog. Or, we're doing proactive stuff, doing random searches, making sure that we try to keep these drugs away from the campuses.
Definitely.
So having, again, a K-9 team really helps out with that because, as you well know, a K-9's nose is much better than a human. And
Definitely.
They're trained on odors of narcotics, from heroin to marijuana, cocaine. There's very different kinds of narcotics that they can alert to.
Yes. I mean, that's good. I'm glad that we've established the K-9 unit just to keep everyone safe because you never know. And
I mean, even like beforehand, taking those proactive measures before anything does happen to, the students or the people around campus.
We could do one with Amigo, our K-9. Let's see, put these on his ears and see how it goes.
So what's the process of finding these drugs?
And then
You're like, okay.
that'll be funny. Wait, so his name is Amigo?
Amigo.
Oh, cool.
He's a long-haired German Shepherd.
So is he the only one you guys have right now?
Yes.
Oh, that's cute.
So are you guys planning to expand the K-9 unit or just leave it to one?
No, we want to expand and get probably another 2 more dogs in narcotics. That way we have that extra presence. But most importantly, we don't, again, going back to our motto, protecting, educating, and mentoring our future, we don't use it as strictly an enforcement entity or an enforcement tool. If for some reason, Officer Riojas and his K-9 partner Amigo are walking through an elementary and kid's having a bad day, we can sit him in a room and he can pet the dog and just kind of calm him down. So that social emotional learning side of it is really, really important. So going back to my officers are not just an enforcement side here to punish. We're here to be part of that community within the district. And really be that extra help and counseling or mentor that these kids can have.
Yes, because we are in a school setting, right? So
Exactly.
that makes a lot of sense. Well, you mentioned about connections earlier and how important those connections are and those relationships are with the cities that we work with or that we're a part of. So how important is the connection between the police department here, the PSJA ISD Police Department, and our board?
It's always going to be, our board supports us. Dr. Elias supports us, our superintendent. Everybody in the district, I think, has a big understanding that our department is here for their safety, and we're here to help them. So we're always getting, that positive support and positive feedback from them.
And what measures or what planning occurs when you guys do have that support and maybe those meetings and things like that?
We're still growing. I mean, we started out with 5 officers that included me at the first, and now we're up to 26. So, our goal is to make sure that we keep increasing our manpower, increasing our law enforcement presence, to have a better positive response, increasing our equipment. We just got a shield from Governor Abbott and the state of Texas to purchase 26 ballistic shields, and that's going to be something that'll help protect us, help protect y'all when we have an incident. Hopefully we never do.
Never, yes.
Yeah, but we're buying the best equipment that's out there. All our officers are equipped with the same standard issued equipment that a lot of agencies don't provide to their line officers.
Yeah. And shields in what way? Like, how would the shields work, or where would they be placed?
So we have enough money to where each officer is going to be able to carry one. So in the event we do have some sort of situation, they'll be in their patrol cars. They'll be able to get off and deploy them, and we can walk side by side with multiple shields, and they're bullet resistant, so we can start evacuating or help keep getting people to safety. So having that with each officer as opposed to a handful that I'm going to have to wait for them to respond from somewhere else. Everybody's going to have one once they're there.
And once again, it's proactive measures, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And especially with everything that's been going on, unfortunately, like in the news and stuff, it's important to take these measures and make sure that everyone is safe. And it seems like PSJA, the police department, is doing that. So they are keeping the safety within our campus. So I would like you to touch a little bit on like why it's important that we constantly acknowledge our safety and why parents should feel safe, like dropping off their kids here at PSJA?
Our focus all the time is just making sure that everybody, like you said, gets dropped off and gets picked up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So our officers are constantly training. We're not waiting for, a work day where you guys are at home and we're still having to come in. We're not waiting for that. This morning we trained on bus assaults with a handful of officers. We have our own officers within the district that are certified to teach active shooters, are certified in the mental health aspect of it as well. So we don't have to go outside somewhere else to get that training. We can do it in-house. So everything that we're doing is focused on making sure everybody gets home safe at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's important to do that. And do you guys bring in like other like outside people to come and help you like train and stuff? And what does the training require?
So again, what's unique with PSJ is that it's 3 cities.
Yeah.
There's 3 municipalities, 3 separate entities that all operate their own police departments within their own confines. Now you add us in there, and you have that support. Anytime something happens, we're setting up a training for summer where we're going to have FAR San Juan Alamo, the sheriff's office, DPS, everybody come and practice an active shooter event at one of our campuses so that I can see the reaction, the response from the surrounding agencies, but also the reaction and response from our officers, and make sure that we're prepared when, if something happens,
yes.
We're ready to go. So just having that, again, that network, and that's something that I value of all the years that I've been in law enforcement. My phone has contacts that I can still rely on from everywhere, from Border Patrol, from FBI, from the Texas Rangers. It's just a phone call away, and they'll come running when we ask them to.
Yeah. And with that in mind, I know our school, and I'm pretty sure every other PSJA school, is a closed campus. And I know some of the students have expressed they're not very happy about that. But can you explain a little bit why it's so important to have closed campuses and what are the benefits of it and the consequences?
Yeah, so PSJ's been doing that for years. And that was when TEA started, requiring that certain things be locked doors, all this stuff. We had been doing that already. That was nothing new to us. So that was something we had been practicing forever. So when TEA came down to do audits with us, they're like, man, you guys are doing great because you're already doing it. So it controls the amount of people coming in. It controls the flow of, people coming from the outside, keeping control of people, jumping a fence or, trying to get out of campus and have multiple entries. That's a safety issue for us. So we want to make sure that we keep that under control as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I know, we're allowed to order food here, but it's kind of getting stricter, which is a good thing because our principal, Dr. Radivela, he even mentioned you don't know what they're bringing into those bags.
Exactly.
So it's important to have that control over who's coming into the campus, who's coming on campus, stepping foot on campus, going out of campus, because it just provides that safety and then you have you that peace of mind, So I think that's really important. Well, we feel very secured at our campus with security guards, as I mentioned. We have the closed campus. They're checking to make sure you're allowed to leave campus early, they're checking that you have your ID before you enter campus. So we do feel very secured at the gate and the main entrance. But what are some of the security implementations that we may see in the future? I know you mentioned that you're not really in charge of that, but it's a department that you do work with. So I don't know, maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Going back to now that we're a law enforcement entity, we're able to get grants that normally weren't available. So we actually have a $1.2 million grant that we just received that we're using that funding to provide more securing to our campuses. And without going into too much detail about it, it would be district-wide. It's not just going to be a handful of campuses. This is going to be something that every school in the district is going to be have that extra layer of security in the event of something happening. So the security team is vital. We have area supervisors that do daily audits, and again, that's something that TEA was requiring that we do once a month. We do them here daily, every day. There's always a supervisor going to the schools, making sure that we're following all the doors locked, making sure the gates are closed. So having that security team, and it's a very good security team. They have 96 guards that are assigned here through campuses, but everything that had been asked by TEA, we had already been doing, and that was a big part from their side as well.
Yeah. And with that, 1.2 million grant, is there things that the police department is already thinking of implementing? Well, besides the shields, I know you mentioned that. Is there anything else that they're thinking about implementing to bring more safety towards our campuses?
Yes, that 1.2 million, it's a school safety grant, and that one is just focusing on keeping the campuses safe and secured. So, again, without giving out too much information on what it is, it's going to be a district-wide event. It's not just going to be a hand-picked group of schools.
And so what's the difference between becoming a police officer and becoming a security guard? Like what is the process you have to go through?
So our district officers, they have to attend a police academy and be certified as a law enforcement officer. But we're taking a little bit more. We're requiring that they have at least 3 years of experience somewhere, not just hiring straight out of the academy. We want them seasoned and of good mindset. We just did interviews a couple Tuesdays ago, and we hired some more officers, and we got a good group that are coming on board. So for us in law enforcement, you have to attend a police academy to get certified. And when I went, it was only 6 months, but now it's a year of training before you can become certified. The security side, we have them. They are required to take training as well through a security level 3, and they also have to have some sort of specific measures before they can come on board with us. So.
And I've always wanted to know, because I know there's different chains of command within law enforcement. Can you go into detail about each one and what the different job is and the ranking of it? Right.
So I currently have 2 sergeants. One of the sergeants is assigned to all the high schools in the district, and that's his subordinates are the campus officers there. And then my other sergeant is in charge of the junior highs and the elementary schools and the patrol side. So they're in charge of making sure of that. And then you have the officers that are going to report to their sergeants, and then their sergeants update and report to me. So that's right now our chain of command. We are looking to add some more command staff as we grow because we're going to need it to be able to monitor the rest of the officers that are going to be coming on board. So it's a very stringent command thing. You can't just go from patrol and go talk to the chief or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I have an open door policy. They can't do that, but I want them to follow that chain of command a little bit more.
And that's within the district, the chain of command, but in regular law enforcement?
Regular law enforcement, depending. I'll use San Juan as an example. When I was there, we had a chief, and then under the chief was Captain Cáceres, and then under him was Lieutenant Alafa, and then we had 4 sergeants, which was myself and 3 others. Then below the sergeants, you had a corporal as well. So you had the corporals underneath there, and then you had the patrol guys that would respond to the call. So you had the investigators there that reported to a sergeant. But yeah, it's depending on what agency you work for, you have a lot more. DPS has majors and different divisions and what have you. Yeah. But most of the time, it's a chief, a captain or a lieutenant, and then some sergeants.
Okay. Yeah, because I hear all these terms, but they just fly over my head because I was like, I don't know how the order goes. Because, I guess, yeah, I'm just like.
Yeah, I didn't know either, but.
I was like, it sounds cool. You have that title, so I'm just going to trust what you say.
What kind of jurisdiction does the PSJA ISD Police Department have?
That's something that's a little, we get asked this a lot. You guys are school cops, you can't do anything.
Well, yeah, because I've heard that too, but then I've heard I got stopped by a PSJA ISD police officer.
We actually have countywide jurisdiction. We can go anywhere in the county. Any school district that has a police department, their police departments are given countywide jurisdiction by the state, by TCOL, which is Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. They're the ones that govern us. The reason they do that is because a lot of, we have bus drivers that, deliver kids to outside areas or agents, parts of town that aren't governed by city cops. So we have that authority to go into to those areas as well. So we have countywide jurisdiction. We can go anywhere within Hidalgo County.
So let's say someone's speeding, right, but outside of, I guess, the PSJA area. Are you allowed to stop them?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, we can.
Wow.
And I encourage my officers to do that because I'd rather have the call of, hey, your officer saw a guy run a red light and almost caused an accident, and he didn't do anything, as opposed to, you know what, hey, thanks for having your officer stop that guy. We know it's not part of your regular duties, but he almost caused an accident. We wanted to make sure he got pulled over, and he did. So we do that.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought it was just like, okay, in the school zone, that's all they can control. And then outside of that, like
Yeah.
if you're going over the speed limit, then they can't stop you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never
Oh,
knew
wow.
that. I
Yeah,
always
me
thought.
neither.
I mean, I gotta tell a couple people now.
I would, yeah, I was
Don't rat them out.
I was surprised by it too. I told one of our officers, I said, I probably would have designed a star, like a sheriff's star, instead of a regular badge, knowing that I had countywide jurisdiction instead.
So you designed the badge?
Yes, we designed the badge.
wow.
We designed the patches, the scheme on the side of our patrol cars. That's all designed by
That's
us.
awesome.
I mean, you could still make another one. You
Yeah.
can have both of
Our
them.
10-year anniversary will probably change into something else.
2029.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
that sounds.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
How old will you be?
I'll be like. I don't even know. Wait, I'm not that good at math, guys.
I was never good at history.
I'll be like mid-20s, I think. 'Cause
10 years older.
I'm 18 right now. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
I'll be 24, I think.
Okay, you'll be 24, then I'll be like 25 or 26.
We're not that good at math.
We're not.
I won't say how old I'll be.
No, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say like my mid-20s. Because I
Yes.
would turn 30 like in 2035. I'm not sure. Okay, well, we've touched base on that. We cannot do math. But I wanted to touch a little bit about base here because I know we mentioned earlier that here at PSJA we have our student security, which they learn from the security guards and, you know, because they're interested in going into law enforcement. So how is it why is it so important to involve the kids already in high school with the law enforcement?
Yeah, into some sort of aspect.
Yeah, well, going back to when I started in San Juan, I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. But there was none of these programs. The only reason I found out about dispatching was because I would hang out with my brother, who was a dispatcher in San Juan at the time. That's the only way I knew about it. Nowadays, having everything that you guys have here, you know, with the law enforcement institutes, we introduce students to all the aspects of law enforcement to where they can make the right decision of where they want to go. Do they want to be a trooper? Do they want to be a border patrol agent? A lot of stories that I would hear, you know, as I progressed through my career was that some friends of mine would go to the academy at Border Patrol, finish the academy, get assigned to a station, and they're like, it isn't what I thought it was going to be, and I don't want to do it. And they'd come back to regular law enforcement. So we want to have that exposure to the kids right now. That way they can say, you know what, this is exactly what I want. This is what I'm going to do, and they can do it quickly and get ahead of the game.
Yeah, they don't waste their time, you know?
Exactly. And I think it's so, like, even with the law enforcement and like the cosmetology program and our being able to get an associate's degrees, the academies, I feel like it's such a great opportunity that PSJA gives because it gives insight to the students to see what they want to do. And, you know, it saves them time and money to be like, okay, this is not the passion that I thought it was going to be and this is nothing, so I'm not going to pursue it. Or they can say, hey, this is exactly what I like. This is what I'm going to pursue. And it gives them that aspect and passion in life. So I feel in the law enforcement, what advice would you give to the students?
Just my mistake was thinking that was my career and that was it.
Yeah.
Make sure you keep your education going. Make sure you keep have a fallback. Study as much as you can, train as much as you can, and get that training. But remember that law enforcement is about doing something good for the public, doing something good, and feel good about that because there's days when I was in San Juan that, you know, they chew my ear off that we weren't doing the right thing, but the next day they were calling us for help. So you got to have that positive contact with the public all the time to where, yeah, they may not like you today, but they're going to call you tomorrow because they know you're going to help them out. Yeah. So decide early. I know you guys here have a class of getting certified as a dispatcher as soon as you that's amazing because imagine you graduate high school, you get hired on, you're 18 years old, you're already building a retirement.
Yeah.
I retired after 25 years. I was only 44 when I retired. Wow. So I mean, who can say that? And these kids now have that opportunity. Yeah. So take advantage of everything that's here right now.
Yeah. I mean, the retirement may have not lasted that long, but
hey,
I mean,
2 days.
Yeah,
still another check, so that's good.
No, yeah, and exactly. And if I don't know, tomorrow you decide, you know what, I don't want to work anymore, you could just not work anymore, which I think is pretty cool. But I also want to touch base because right now you mentioned how it's important to have that connection with the public. How important is that connection with the public and with the media to get, I guess, the message across
the
with the law
networking
enforcement.
and
Exactly.
You also, before we kind of started recording, you did mention about Telemundo and the different people that that are a part of ABC and Telemundo and someone working in South Korea. I forgot
Will
with
Ripley.
what. Yes.
He used to work for Channel 5. He's up in North
Korea.
Korea.
Yeah, sorry, North Korea. So I guess what's the importance of working hand in hand with them too, and how does that relationship build?
So the law enforcement and media relationship is very close knit. You want to make sure that whenever there is an event, that the media portrays it as the way it is, and not kind of put their own spin on it. So doing these interviews with Telemundo or with national groups or what have you, you always want to make sure that you put the department at the forefront of everything, and make sure that you have that mentality that they're here to do a job and report a story, but they're doing it on you. So you got to make sure that you have that good relationship. As to a good reporter will know what I would want to put out, and doing so many stories together, they already knew this is the way Rolly worked, or this is whatever, and this is the direction we're going. So having that interaction all the time is really positive. So it's very important, especially nowadays. You have the social media and all that, where everything can go quickly out of control and spiral.
Definitely.
Being able to work with your local media is a big plus for us.
Yeah. And, well, I guess we're the media right now. So what would you like to, I guess, portray out there of what the mission of PSJA ISD Police Department is?
We're teachers just as much as the teachers and the counselors and the principals are. Again, we're not going to be that totally enforcement, arrest people all the time, send them to jail. That's not what we're here for. We're here to make sure that the students have the best opportunity right now, because they can make a mistake. Everybody makes a mistake when they're young. But we want to make sure that our officers can really help them and drive them to make the right decision.
Yeah. Well, lastly, to end off the podcast, what makes our PSJA ISD Police Department so different from the rest around the valley?
So we have a lot of alumni that are employed right now within the district. So having that tie-in from the PSJA connection, and the ones that are not alumni came from FAR, San Juan, and Alamo Police Department. So again, there's that connection with the communities. So our department is going to continue to grow. Our department is going to continue to focus on making sure you guys can keep doing this without somebody running in through that door right now.
Yeah.
So we're very much a part of the PSJ community, and what we want to do. Again, is our motto is protecting, educating, and mentoring the future, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chief Garcia, for being on. I really appreciate your insight and everything that the PSJA ISD Police Department does for the district. Yes. So thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming
Thanks for
on.
having
It was
us.
great having you
Hopefully I
on.
can come back.
Yes,
Thank you so
definitely.
much. Yes,
and next time we will have donuts, I promise
yes,
you.
yes.
And maybe a Coke also as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, as I mentioned, like she said, we appreciate all that you and the department has done to keep and ensure the safety of our campus and the district as a whole as well. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Posted Podcast. Be sure to tune in next week, and go Bears.
Go Bears.